Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Power Hour Panel Talk. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Power Hour Panel Talk, where we all come together and talk about current events. Now, a lot of things have happened. I know there's one huge thing that has happened that everyone really does want to discuss, whether you believe it was right, whether you believe it was wrong. So we're going to go ahead and dive into that first, but we do talk about different current events, whether it's here in the United States, elsewhere in the world, international. Angel, I know you want to talk about Mexico, so hopefully you have something for us today. So talk about Mexico. But let's go ahead and talk about Trump. Now, we have been talking about Trump's impeachment for a while now, and as many of us know, we all should know that on February 13th, Trump was acquitted of charges and he was found not guilty of the impeachment. So I know many people want to see Trump get impeached, and many people did not want to see Trump get impeached, but we are here. Trump is a free man as of right now, but it doesn't mean that more things are coming. But I'll talk about that a little bit later. So, Wade, what do you think about the acquittal of the Teflon Don Trump?
I mean, world champ. I mean, reigning champ twice now in a row, acquitted. I mean, we all saw. All right, we all saw when what was his name was acquitted. We know he killed her. What was his name?
OJ.
I didn't even have to know who it was. I just had to say, we know he killed her. And he said, OJ. And they said, when the glove don't fit, you must acquit. All right, well, guess what? He's been acquitted twice now.
Yeah. So he has. Many people are upset about Republicans because they acquitted him, not because they think that he's innocent, but because they're either falling on party lines or because they thought it was unconstitutional. So Sohaila, what are your thoughts about Trump being acquitted?
Well, I just wish he was impeached, but it's a shame that to me, I call those Republicans just pussies. Again, there you go, Wade. It's my favorite word. With him.
We need to get Sohaila a hat.
I'm gonna get her a
shirt. Right? Oh my God! Right? Because are you kidding me? What are they so afraid of? I mean, don't they know that their lives were in danger on the 6th? Come on! And now they're taking a 180. It's like, you've got to be kidding me! Unbelievable. What do you think?
What I think people did just protecting him. Actually, I think if he talks, they're not going to be protected because a lot of Republicans, and not just the Republicans, I'm pretty sure all the Democrats.
Right now,
a lot of Democratic people, they've been doing a lot of fishy business, not just in this country, around the world. All the corruption is the world is so corrupted. But why is corrupted? Because USA wants to control everything. They're sticking their nose in every single country. So remember Donald Trump, he was attacking the Mexicans years ago. So when we got this president in Mexico, he can do anything. Why? Because he talked to Donald Trump the truth. You want to stop this, you have to stop this. So basically, they're protecting him.
And then Stephanie, what do you think about Trump not being impeached? Or Trump being found not guilty? Go ahead.
I got what you were saying. It's an interesting phenomena that I've noticed that snakes have a way of slithering in and out of all kinds of places.
Ain't that the truth? Yep.
Now, just because, so again, I know on the bottom it says Trump is not impeached. That was just for headlines. As we know, Trump was impeached and they brought him to the trial. And while he was in the trial, they found him not guilty. He was basically acquitted of everything. But just because he was found not guilty doesn't mean that there's more things not coming to him. Now, Trump is going to be in a lot of litigation coming up because not only is he beat this, but now he has more cases coming up against him. So the NAACP has filed a lawsuit against Donald Trump and his personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, and basically they're kind of claiming or saying that they violated this 19th century statute or this 19th century law that's called the Ku Klux Klan Act. because they were trying to prevent the certification of the Electoral College votes on the 6th. So what do you guys think about the NAACP suing Trump for this statute?
So did you know that in Virginia, that it is still to this day illegal for a woman to drive unless she's accompanied by a man over 6 foot tall waving a red lantern?
What?
How dumb is that, right?
Right? Oh my God.
But if I really wanted to be an asshole, I could dig way back and say, this law still exists. I'm going to try somebody I don't like because she was not accompanied by a man over 6 foot tall waving a red lantern. That's pretty ignorant, right? So let's just find some random fucking law from way back when and say you violated that just because we don't like the guy. That is like the definition of scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Now, I'm going to say this in terms of this lawsuit, right? I believe that Trump is guilty of a lot of things. I don't know if this is the way for the lawsuit to go. Now, I know people may be looking at it kind of like they look at Capone, and if you got to get him on his taxes, get him on his taxes, which honestly, I actually think you could get Trump on his taxes more than anything else. But I'm not even going to go there. I feel like this is what they're trying to do. If they can't get him on the impeachment charges, if they can't get him on in the government here, they're going to sue him civilly to try and make him be held accountable for the things that happened on January 6th. I do think that it may be a waste of time. I think there's so many other things, like the phone call in Georgia, where he asked Georgia basically to find these votes. I think there's so many other things that people could go after Trump for in order to hold him accountable for things, because so if you're from New York, you know about Trump. And if you're from New York, you know that Trump has a lot of shady dealings. And this is before he was president. This is before he found this huge fan base politically. Trump is known to have a lot of shady dealings. And because of this, there are so many other things that you can go after him for, that going after him for this 19th century law, I don't think is necessarily the route to go. But again, I think they're going the Al Capone route. And then Stephanie, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is the first I've heard of it, but it does feel, is contrived the word I want to use here? It does feel like it's like really reaching, like seriously. But I also feel like the NAACP kind of felt like they needed to say something. And apparently this was the best they could come up with. I don't know.
And then Sohaila, what do you think?
Well, I don't believe that they should go like all out, like Wade said, like, holding something from a long, long time ago. But, I think people just want to get after him for something. But I believe that the Georgia thing should definitely come first. How he was trying to, tell that the governor or whoever, all I want is 11,792 votes or whatever it was, how many votes. But yeah, I mean, there's other things that is literally a little bit more important. Yeah.
I have 3 questions.
What?
Okay, I have 3 answers.
I hope. Okay, first of all, why it was good to impeach Trump? Okay, I know why, but I want to say how many situations is necessary to impeach Trump. I mean, not to run for president. I mean, what's the other ones, And the second question, how many lawsuits, how many mistakes makes in the last 10 or 15 years, And my last question, you don't think you guys, the people who vote in favor of him, they has to be investigated? Because these people who vote for him or they're trying to protect him, they're hiding something, they are afraid of something. It's very easy.
So I'll say this. I know they're looking into a commission, looking into the everything that happened with January 6th. So kind of similar to the 9/11 commission. So they're going to be investigating a lot of things, and we'll see how people are held accountable, because there was some shady dealings going on back table wise in order to either get Trump acquitted or either to not have information brought forward about January 6th. I guess they're going to uncover it, but it's going to be a very, very long process. So that was the answer to your last question. I have no clue how many lawsuits Trump has against him, because there's always a new lawsuit against Trump. I don't keep track of them, so I'm sorry. I think that was number 2. And then with your what was the first question again?
What was the first one?
What was the first one? What was the reason to impeach? For how many? Why all the reasons?
What was the reason for impeaching him in the first place?
So the reason for impeaching him this time around was because they believe they were accusing him of inciting the violence that happened on January 6th. And that was this time around. See, I told you I have 3 answers for you.
Okay.
So I may be a little out of line here because I'm the new guy when it comes to political, but here's the first thing that pops into my mind when I hear all this. Do you remember the communist headhunt?
Mm-hmm. McCarthy.
We had a commission of people that were destined to root out all the communists. And they would take people and put them in a room and beat them until they admitted that they were, verbally beat them until they admitted that they were a communist, and gave them the names of 2 to 3 more communists. And once you were named, you were a communist.
Yep.
I'm kind of seeing that. And what I mean by that is I'm seeing a commission of people being put together to try and find a reason to mess with a person, regardless of who it is. Let's ignore that it's Trump or anybody else. Let's look at the fact that you have a group of people that are getting together to purposely find some way to get someone.
Yeah, so it reminds me of a Republican and Democratic Party. They're fighting all the time.
So I'll say this. I'm not necessarily against the commission. If they have a commission put in place to find more information about what happened on January 6th and not necessarily point fingers, I'm okay with that, because I know, like a lot of people said, it looks like there was some kind of inside job, the way that things happened. And I'm not one to want to start conspiracy theories. I'm not one to spread conspiracy theories. But if there's rumors like that going on, I am completely okay with the commission being put together in order to discover what happened on January 6th. I am not okay with, and again, I know a lot of people are going to be frustrated with me saying this, I'm not okay with let's continue to chase Trump type of ideology.
Right.
Trump is out of office. He's probably going to run again because he was not impeached. There are many reasons to file lawsuits against Trump. I feel like there's going to be a massive amount of lawsuits going against him, which they should, because there are reasons such as Georgia and his taxes as well. So I don't see why there needs to be all of this hoopla around, oh my gosh, what should we do this and do that and this, and we got to find every little thing about Trump. I can also see how the Senate, based how Congress altogether, can be afraid though, because it happened to them. And usually when you're the victim of something, you want to hold someone accountable. And I can see that Congress could be in that victim mentality of they're still living in that fear of what happened that day. So they do have to go ahead and try and find and hold someone accountable legally. So I can see that happening as well.
They got Man Bear Pig.
What is it?
They got Man Bear Pig and his horns. They got him. They got someone accountable.
You know what I'm wondering? Why can't any of the Democrats go after him civilly now? Because of their lives were in danger, and when they got called, or he got called to bring in the what was it, the Coast Guard or whoever, not a Coast Guard, who was the one that's supposed to come and National Guard, that's it, the National Guard. He wouldn't do it. So to me, that's putting their lives in danger right there. So why can't they turn around and get him civilly? I mean, Pelosi has the money to do it. Why doesn't she? I would.
And they can't go after Hillary for the deaths in Benghazi that she is rightfully responsible for.
Ooh, let's not get into Benghazi tonight because you know
that's another story.
Let's get into that. Let's get into that another time. A night where we have slow, when we have like a slow news cycle. That's what we'll jump into because that's a long conversation, but that is a conversation about the past.
If Wade is gonna go start scratching on the past, why don't they impeach Clinton?
Right?
He was guilty.
Did.
Oh yeah,
they did.
Oh.
Yeah, but he was able to convince an entire nation that a blowjob is not sex. You got to give the man credit. All right, he convinced an entire nation.
Oh, that was like a bonus.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
So
yeah, he said that he didn't have sex with that lady.
Yeah.
He did not have sexual relations with that lady, and I'm gonna tell you right now. When it comes to the law, precision of language is something that is extremely important. So I do see how Clinton got away with it. But we're not going back in time today. We have a lot of times that we can go back in time. I know there's a lot of things like the blue dress incident.
Yes, I believe that those Democrats, I mean, look at Romney. He was shaking in his boots. And thank goodness he actually voted to impeach him. Thank goodness he had balls, but the rest of those Republicans do not have balls. Let me tell you, they left him at home with the wife or something, but they didn't bring it.
No, they have balls, but they think that they have suspicious activities before. Yeah,
yeah, it's like something's dangling over them. You know, it's like Trump's going to do something.
I hope I don't get in trouble, but this is, to me, Trump is like the Godfather.
He is.
On
the day of my daughter's wedding.
Yes.
So guys, moving away from Trump. I know we all like to talk about Trump, whether for, against, the craziness. Wherever Trump goes, Trump does bring the circus with him. But Trump is no longer in office, so I think we should keep him out of office right now. And he hasn't necessarily been the topic of current events for a long time. And I'm hoping that we, as an American people, can stop having him be the topic of current events when he's just, in retirement right now. But something that we can talk about, and I'm going to shift away from that and talk about money. $1.9 trillion worth of money, actually. So I spoke about this morning. They're looking to push through President Joe Biden's $1.9 trillion with a T relief plan or stimulus plan in order to give the American people, number one, their stimulus checks, in order to raise the unemployment benefits from $300 to $400, and to also get money out for the vaccines. So vaccine research, but also to push the vaccine out so people can get vaccines. What are your thoughts on this $1.9 trillion price tag? And Stephanie, what do you think about this relief plan?
Well, I don't know the latest in terms of the unemployment, in terms of the extension, but I know for many of us that the initial federal extension is coming up. For a lot of people in March, they're not going to have eligibility any longer. So having extra money attached to your unemployment really means nothing if you're not receiving unemployment. So I don't know enough about this new package to know what the ins and outs are and what exactly they're proposing to offer the American people. What I do know is that the American people need help. I'm right across the street from a food distribution facility. And when they first started, this was probably 3 months ago, and occasionally you'd see a car go through here and there. Now I know, the word has gotten out, and so I appreciate that. But today I see lines of cars, and instead of having a cart with 2 layers of food bags, I see these giant carts that are filled to the brim, and by the end of their 3-hour shift, those bags are gone. Now, whether or not everyone who comes actually really needs that food, I don't know. But the fact of the matter is that there is a great need. And this country, I mean, these people are really suffering financially, and they're really coming or have already come to their end. And so, if this bill is something that's going to actually help people, then yay. But if it's part of the political game, then let it go. But do something that's going to actually help our country.
So in terms of the unemployment, my understanding with this bill, now remember, it's still a bill and it's still going through committee, so it can change. But the bill right now, what it's looking like is that they're trying to rush this bill through in order to extend those unemployment benefits for those who it may be running out for. So if you're receiving that pandemic unemployment, it should extend if this bill is passed through. Now they're trying to make sure that they can get it to the House next week so it can pass through the Senate. So by March, people are able to continue getting unemployment without a lapse. So that's for the unemployment aspect of it. And that's why there's such a rush to get it. Now, in order for people to not have that lapse in unemployment, it has to be done within these next few weeks. So by the time the end of March comes, people can still have unemployment. And one of the things about this is they're trying to do it without Republican support in order to get it on time. Now, they do have this measure they can use about once where they can pass it through without the Republican votes. They do need to have every single Democrat vote yes for the bill in order for this to happen. So what do you guys think about them trying to push this bill through without Republican support so they can get it through on time for the American people?
Well, I'm glad that they're doing it. I think the issue is they don't like that $15 an hour in there. And I agree, though. I think that should actually be its own bill. But I mean, it is what it is. But they have to do something for the American people. And they need to get that out like immediately. Too many people are suffering.
I think they should have a more controlled what they give to the people. What Stephanie said, she's right. I saw a lot of people that take advantage of the programs, the benefits.
Yeah, that's true.
And first of all, Mel, she said number one. I'm going to say number two. The money should be only for Democrats, right? And the other thing is, you know what? Mexicans or people who works in the fields, that's the people needs more help. They barely make like $12 an hour. Sometimes they don't have a car, they don't have insurance. If you go to those fields, you can see a lot of guys in the big bands. That's the people they need the money.
Yeah, but that's another story because most of them are illegal, and so they're not getting any of this 1.9
But that's
trillion.
the people they need.
I know.
You know what? If they give them the money to them, they're going to spend it in here or give them more food stamps or stuff like that.
And then Wade, what do you think?
So I got a couple different points, and I'm gonna do some rough math here. 360 million people in the U.S. 1.9 trillion is about $5,200 a person. So you're telling me that $3,800 of that per person is going to other programs that don't do anything to benefit me or anybody else. And yes, I know you said they're going to the vaccine and things like that, but they really don't do anything to help me at this moment. I don't know if I agree with that. If I was to tell you I'm going to give you a $5,000 check, but I'm going to take $3,800 of your money and give it to somebody else, you'd want to kick me from one side of the building to the other. And then you're going to say, by the way, you're still responsible for the full $5,000 later. I got a problem with that.
Yeah.
The other problem I have is the $15 an hour. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs. A lot of them are.
I agree. No, I'm all for the $15. Believe me. But, I am because it's
Here's the reason why.
$15 an hour is still poverty. I mean, people can't even. They won't be able to. I mean, a year. It's crazy.
I know a lot of people who worked in trades. A lot of people have went to schools like paramedics, things like that make $15 an hour. That's what they make.
Mm-hmm.
You've now just made them minimum wage employees. What's the drive anymore for them to go to all that schooling or get those bills or anything else when they can go work at Kinko's Copy Center for 8 hours a day and make the same amount?
So here's what I'll say about this. The reason why I don't think it should be included in this bill, I think right now we need to focus on relief. Mm-hmm. Relief needs to be the number one. So relief for the individual person, relief for the states and cities and municipalities that need the help as well, because the states don't get it. They're about to lay off a lot of government employees as well. I think that unemployment needs to be taken care of as well. So in this relief package, we need to focus on the here and now. But I do believe that $15 an hour minimum wage is something that needs to happen. It can't be something that happens immediately. It needs to be in increments. So by this year, it needs to increase by that. By this year, it needs to increase by that. But the thing is, with inflation, and I'm going to look up the numbers in a second, but if we would like to account for inflation, minimum wage, I think, should be higher than $15 an hour if it would have increased with the time. The buying power of the American people right now is significantly less than it was 60 years ago. And while I don't believe that a paramedic and a McDonald's worker should be making the same amount, I do think that 15 should be the minimum, and that paramedics should be paid significantly more money. I think it is possible for businesses, for companies to do it, but I think a lot of things need to change. And I think if we look again at taxes and free up taxes from the middle class and put taxes on the 1% and then open things up, so it can't just be $15 an hour. There we go. It needs to be $15 an hour, and off that $15 an hour, because again, like Sohaila says, you're still in poverty in many places in the country, not all over, but places in the country. But then we have to look at taxes as well. And there needs to be several changes in several aspects of the government in order for that $15 to make sense. And that's why I think it should be a completely separate bill than the relief that we're seeing. But we will talk about that.
Minimum wage is meant for minimum skills. It's meant for high school kids. It is not meant to be a living wage. No.
It was. I think it was actually meant to be a living wage. I'm going to see if I can find this.
People can't live for 15
hours. Increase your education. We want you to increase your job set skills. We want you to get a better job and move on and be able to, impart those skills down on others. We do not want somebody to be a minimum wage worker the rest of their lives.
Correct. I agree with that. Yes. And I agree that, when you go to school for something like a professor or, anything like that, any trade, right, that they should be double that amount, of course. I agree.
Right. So
I did want to, so before we jump in, I want to pull this quote up. So here's the quote. In 1933 address following the passage of the National Industrial Recovery Act, President Franklin D. Roosevelt noted that no business which depends for existence on paying less than living wage to its workers has any right to continue in this country.
Okay, I'll go with that.
So basically, it was basically meant to be a living wage. And there's a larger quote, and I'm not going to get into that larger quote, but it was essentially meant to be like the bare minimum living wage. Like if you should be able to, in my opinion, you should be able to afford a studio apartment minimum if you're working 40 hours.
Depends on where too. The studio apartment in New York is like,
the thing is that I think wherever you're living, because again, just because something is the minimum wage for the country doesn't mean that it's the minimum wage for the state that you're in.
Exactly.
Do you think the minimum wage by state should be changed?
So I think because states do have separate minimum wages. So what the minimum wage in New York is not the minimum wage in Kansas. So it is different by state. So there's a federal minimum wage. So federally, no one is allowed to make, what is it?
Be below X.
I think it's 7 something right now. And then each state decides what above 7 it can be. But federally there is a minimum wage.
Right.
But I do think, again, states' rights. I do believe that states should have the opportunity to say what their minimum wage is, because like a studio apartment in New York is not the same as a studio apartment in Mississippi.
Exactly.
I think it's fair.
So what I see coming is I see a lot of people losing their jobs because they're going to put cashierless checkouts in stores, more of them. They're going to put more kiosks in like McDonald's and things like that to offset that.
I'm all for that, actually. Have I ever told you guys how I think how we think we should run as a country?
Automated?
So automated. I don't think so. America is a developed nation. Now, this is, again, I'm going to preface this. This is just my opinion about how the country should be ran. My opinion only. I'm not running for anything anytime soon. I probably never will. My opinion is that every single American served 2 years in the military. Every American should be given the opportunity to have continuing education, so anything past 12th grade, for free. Now, I don't say college because a lot of people say college and they mean what I'm going to say, but they don't. When you say college, people just think it's like a liberal arts school. So anything like a trade. So if you want to be a plumber, if you want to get a 2-year degree, if you want to get a community college, I believe that as a developed nation, a college degree or some other kind of industry should not be so hard to get into. I believe that we should be paying for that kind of education. And at no point do I believe that we should have a plethora of cashiers in this country. I'm all for going automated, but I also believe that if we put Americans in a position where they can get jobs, such as being a plumber, because right now, if you're a plumber, you're making a lot of money because there's a shortage of plumbers, because my generation was told, go to college and get a job, so no one wanted to be a plumber. And that was a huge mistake. Not everyone is meant to be in the books. Not everyone is meant to be an academic. Not everyone is meant to go into business. Not everyone's meant to go into be an entrepreneur. But I do believe that everyone should have some type of trade. And as a developed nation, I believe that we have the opportunity to give people that. So I'm all for automating everything. I mean, just like people saying that we're getting rid of cashiers and that's a problem and that we need the human touch, we got rid of elevator operators. Do you guys want an elevator operator unless you live in one of those old buildings in New York? So most people don't. Most people don't want to have an elevator operator. In order to move forward as a country, we need to move forward with technology. But in order to move forward with technology and still have people working, we need to move forward with education for people. I don't think anyone in America should be working a menial job like a cashier or anything that can be automated. I believe automate the menial jobs, educate our population so we can continue moving forward. And
remember those full service gas stations? Remember that when somebody comes out, what would you like? Would that be regular or unleaded?
They still do that in Jersey.
Yeah.
No way. Really? Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's Jersey. You're not allowed to pump your own gas, isn't it?
Completely illegal.
What?
Completely
No
illegal.
way.
We can pump it for you. Yep.
Wow. I didn't know that those still existed.
Mm-hmm.
And then
your point. I really like your point, Mel, and I think it really reinforces mine more that you need to move forward. You need to learn. You need to grow. You do not need to be the fry cook at McDonald's saying, I don't make enough. I've been working there for 30 years as the fry cook. All right. You have no drive. You have no ambition, and you want people to pay for you.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But also, I'll say this. A company like McDonald's should be able to pay anyone $15 an hour, no problem. I mean, absolutely no problem. I don't care what you pay. Like when it comes to minimum wage, I'm more concerned about small businesses who need more tax breaks than these rich corporations, because McDonald's can still have the most profitable year ever and still afford to pay every single employee $15 an hour.
Yeah,
they
look,
can.
Fry cooks getting $15 an hour. My burger better look like what's on those freaking pictures. All right. Tired of this squished piece of shit I get. All right. It's nothing like those pictures.
that's funny.
And then Stephanie, what do you think?
Way there's that image, because in the picture it's this big. When you get it, it's this big, right?
It had the cheese falling off. It may or may not have
You're
mustard.
talking about the Big Macs?
I mean,
Talking about the Big Macs.
yeah.
Now, Sohaila, I know you wanted to bring something up.
Yeah, so I want to talk about the Lincoln Project. So I just heard about this literally this week, and I really didn't know what it was. So who really knows what Lincoln Project is? And it's supposed to be like they're found guilty at some things. I don't get it. Anybody know?
So essentially, the Lincoln Project was a bunch of Republicans who were against Trump. I don't really know if it's necessary now. I do think that the Republican Party is heading for a split. I said the Republican Party was heading for a split back when the Tea Party was being founded. But again, with the Lincoln Project being founded, it does look like it's going for a split. But basically, the Lincoln Project was a bunch of Republicans that were like, whoa, Trump does not stand for what Republicans stand for, so we're basically against Trump. The interesting thing about the Lincoln Project was it was founded by, one of the founders was George Conway, who's Kellyanne Conway's husband and Claudia Conway's dad. But we're not going to get into that crazy family dynamic just yet. But I know they've been in the news lately because there was some talk of sexual harassment in there. So basically, I think George Conway came in and stated that it should be taken down now that there's no reason to have the Lincoln Project up anymore.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. And now I know.
So what was their original intent?
Wait, say it again. Wait, couldn't hear you.
What was their original intent with the project?
So with the Lincoln Project, I believe they were trying to keep the Republican Party as the Republican Party prior to Trump. I think they believe that Trump was steering it in the wrong direction, and that Trump's candidacy completely pulled away from the traditional Republican ideas that they were trying to stick to. So honestly, essentially, it was the Republicans who didn't believe in Trump or who didn't support Trump. That's really what it was.
Well, I think they should actually keep it going because in 4 years he's going to be back, unfortunately.
So what are your thoughts on
then?
Sorry, say it again. I'm having, I think,
Maybe,
I don't know if
maybe they'll resurrect it again, the Lincoln Project, in 4 years.
So I think.
Just call it
So
the
you-
We Hate Trump platform. I mean, why call it anything else? I mean,
I know, right? Why is it called the Lincoln Project anyways? Why wouldn't it be called the Trump
if you
Project?
don't like him, just say you don't like him.
So good old honest Abe was a Republican. So Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. They wanted to kind of bring it back to the party of Lincoln and not the party of Trump.
Ah, okay. Well, that makes sense. Okay.
Well, apparently they forgot their history then. Oh,
So I know. So again, so the Lincoln Project co-founder George Conway has basically called for the organization to be disbanded because there was mounting sexual harassment scandals going on right now. I know that George Conway, who again was a co-founder, pulled out because he was having family issues with his daughter, his 16-year-old daughter. So both him and Kellyanne Conway pulled away. But now it looks as though that the Lincoln Project itself is now dealing with a bunch of sexual harassment issues at the moment. And George is saying,
Mm-hmm.
and George is basically saying, just shut it down.
Good idea. Good idea.
Perfect. So something else that I wanted to talk about tonight, which I did speak about the other day, is something that I know a lot of people don't really understand. Some people are absolutely horrified of it, and it can actually happen to any one of us. And honestly, it can happen to any one of us on the show today because we talk and people listen. And that is cancel culture. If people hear you say something that you do not like, you could be canceled. Now, essentially, what cancel culture is when people say something that is what it should be or what they wanted it originally to be. if you said something against someone's race, if you said something homophobic, if you said something misogynistic, that you were basically held accountable for your actions. Because while a lot of things were not necessarily against the law, it was putting down a people or making people feel as though they're less than. Now, I'll give you an example of someone I believe that we all believe should have been canceled a very long time ago, and that was Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein was a sexual predator, and when things started to come to light, I think that we all can agree on this panel that Harvey Weinstein needed to be canceled, needed to be removed from his company. But now it's not just sexual predators like Bill Cosby or Harvey Weinstein who are being canceled. It's now people who say many other things. And again, people do need to be held accountable, but are we now in a situation, are we now in a time when cancel culture has gone too far? Yes, people need to be held accountable for their actions and for their words, but we have seen in the past couple of years that cancel culture has been weaponized and is being used against a lot more people. And it is becoming a lot more involved because it's not just canceling celebrities, but it's also canceling everyday people. And there's even the situation of doxing or releasing people's personal information, like their phone numbers or their place of employment, to the general public. So what are your thoughts on cancel culture? Do you guys think it went too far? Or do you guys think it's exactly what it should be? And then Wade, let's start with you, because I see that little smirk forming. So what do you think, Wade?
So I think cancel culture has a place, but, and I want to be very clear in what I say at this next moment, because I don't want there to be a misunderstanding. A person is smart. People are ignorant. You get enough people together and tell them the sky is purple, that sky is purple. No matter what you tell them otherwise, that sky is purple. And they will beat you in the streets if you disagree with them. So I liken cancel culture to that. A person is smart. A person can look at the facts of what's going on and make their own decision. But people, they get riled up into this tidal wave of just blah, and you got to go along with it or you're going to get buried. So Bill Cosby, Harvey Weinstein. Just Harvey Weinstein, real simply, what he did was wrong. He should have been canceled. But he's still innocent until proven guilty. Bill Cosby was innocent until proven guilty. I mean, let's be honest. You get a pudding pop from Bill Cosby at a nightclub, there's a fucking problem, all right? All right? But I digress. He's still innocent until proven guilty. Just because somebody says something that you may not like and you have enough people to create this tidal wave, that's weaponization. That's what that is. You get enough people together again and tell them the sky's purple, that sky's purple.
And then, so now that we know that the sky's purple.
That's right. Let's get going.
Well, it's like when Trump was telling people, we're going to walk down to the Capitol building. And I'm going to be with you. Yes. But was he with? No. So it's like, why didn't you just say, and we're going to jump off that bridge? That would have been great. That would have been great. But it didn't happen. But yeah, I mean, all jokes aside, you know, people, even though they're saying the facts, people take facts differently. And what they say, it's like, no, I didn't mean it that way. So, you know, again, who's to say that this person's right or this person's wrong? Even if they look at it like the sky is blue. Okay, well, the sky is going to blue, but it's not. It's cloudy, you know? So who's right, who's wrong? And that's where it's at. So, you know, we all have opinions. And, you know, it depends. It's like, remember the comedian, or what was her name? The one that held up Trump's head, and it was
Griffin,
like
Kathy Griffin.
Yes, she got canceled really quick. I mean, okay, so she can't do that, but yet ISIS could behead somebody live on Facebook.
So I'm pretty sure that if
a big difference there.
Yeah, because ISIS isn't being canceled. ISIS is trying to be is a terrorist organization that we're trying to stop. So I think those
killed
things are
somebody to behead them.
Yeah. So many of you guys know I am not a Trump supporter, but I was completely okay with Kathy Griffin being canceled for that because that is a seated American president. Whether you like it or not, Trump was a seated American president and you should not have done that. But I'm going to get to, so after I get Stephanie's opinion about cancel culture in general, I'm going to talk about a case that just happened last week. So Stephanie, what is your thoughts on cancel culture? You're muted, Steph.
Yeah, so Wade brings up a really interesting point, and actually there's been several studies that have been done showing that in fact people, they can look at something and by themselves they would report that thing as the thing, as what it actually is. But then after being exposed to other people who say it's something different, they will change their opinion. And it's a fascinating phenomena, I think, to see that happen. But you know, back in the day, I mean, I'm kind of old, so I remember when people used to be able to just say whatever they wanted to say, and you didn't have the option to cancel them. You know, I mean, how many times have I been called the N word in my life? And you know, I would love to be able to cancel those people, but I think that we've definitely gone too far. Yeah.
So I'll say this, and you bring up something interesting with you being called the N word. If someone calls me the N word, someone calls me a fag. If someone, and they're in a position of power, right? If they're in a position where they have control over other people, not just control, whether they're a manager, whether they're a mayor or something, and I know that you hold these views against people, I'm going to want to see you canceled. And again, I'm a millennial. I think I'm the youngest person here. I know a lot of times that's what we look at. It's like we want to make sure that people in power are not, or people with influence are not using that influence to harm other people. And if you feel comfortable calling me a nigger, if you feel comfortable calling me a fag, if you feel comfortable calling me a bitch, I don't think that you should be in this position of power, and I have no problem seeing you canceled. But again, we also have to look at it. It's like, how far is too far as well? Now, let's say this: if you called someone the N-word while you were at work, then you're probably going to get fired, and that's the kind of the equivalent of what like canceling is to someone who is a manager that's not in the public eye. But now we're bringing a lot of things where people are not in the public eye and now bringing them into the public eye. And it goes to, at what point are we actually holding people accountable for their action? And at what point are we just a mob with pitchforks and torches chasing somebody? So what do you guys think about that? And I know words can affect people differently as well. Something that you say to me may not be offensive to someone else, and they may not want to see you get canceled. But I know that if you're okay calling me certain things to my face or near me, then I know that you're probably, when you are in that position of power, you're probably using that position of power in order to make people or keep people at a disadvantage. So what do you guys think?
But isn't it better to know that that's how that person really thinks, instead of having it be, you know, kind of covert or somehow behind the scenes? And so they're still using their power in that way, but then it's not so well known.
I think it is better to know, but I also don't think that people who have these views, who can essentially keep people under or continue to push people down when they're in a position of authority or a position of influence, should have that position of power, that position of influence. Do I think you should lose your entire life? No, I don't think you should lose your entire life. Do I think that you should be in a position where you are a manager, or you're influential, or you run a city? I don't think that's the position for you. So I'm okay with people getting canceled in those positions. And then Wade, what do you think?
Should we cancel them? Or should we educate them?
So I'm all about education. But I still think there needs to be some kind of consequences.
I can agree with the consequence, yes. But canceling someone's lifestyle, livelihood, anything like that, this is almost akin to a criminal record at this point with what these people are doing. From now on, whatever person has been canceled will have this stigma following them the rest of their lives. Whether what they did was right, wrong, was a learning lesson, they're going to have this stigma in the public eye for the rest of their lives, and they're probably not going to get work or jobs again. You know, people ask me always what my opinion is, and I always stick to this. I hate everyone equally. I don't care what your race, creed, color. I don't care if you're a Martian. I hate everyone equally.
That makes me feel better.
So I'm going to go to the comments really quickly. So Joanna says, that's the problem. People don't understand that the freedom of speech. We are a civilized society. The moment you degrade someone in any form, you should be held accountable. And that's because
accountable.
I think,
or reprimanded, and let them know, hey, that was uncalled for. We don't say that. We don't do that. So, again, Wade, like educate them, right? But I think it's just gone so beyond right now, that so much hatred going on right now that people are they're spitting it out. It's literally, they're just throwing it up left and right now. And of course, everybody thinks it's okay now because everybody's had enough of everything. That's the thing. I mean, everybody's so raw now. And we really have to get some decency and common sense back to America for sure.
So I think there's another part to that too. You have the power of anonymity. You can be online in one of these mobs with your username of Giant Bubble Butt 04, and no one knows who you are, and you can spew whatever you want. So you're not actually out there in front of the person's house or on the news where they have your name and their information.
Right.
So I'm going to say this. I believe that cancel culture started from communities that felt disenfranchised. So communities where they were put in a position where they didn't necessarily have power, where they didn't have the ability to see the people who were doing things against them be held accountable. Now, again, that could be minority groups, that could be women, that could be the LGBTQ community, where they were in a position where when things were done against them, they saw that the people doing things against them were never held accountable. And they had to find a way in order to defend themselves and hold those people accountable. Because I'm going to give you a big one. Harvey Weinstein. He was not held accountable for years. Right. He could literally do whatever he wanted to women. And I'm not I know it sounds like he can do whatever. He literally could do whatever he wanted to women, and women would say things. And what would happen is the women that would say things, their careers went down the trash. He was still okay. So I think cancel culture does have a place. And I think it did stem from communities that were disenfranchised saying, nobody, we're going to have a voice now. And I think what Wade is saying has a lot to do with too, because now not only do you have a voice, but you can speak up and no one really knows who you are. So if you all of a sudden have like a bunch of people saying things about Harvey Weinstein online, I'm just using this Harvey Weinstein example because this went on for decades. Mm-hmm. So now you have all these people who can say things anonymously or can say things behind a computer, even though it may not always be anonymously. It's a little bit easier to type things than it is to actually say things out loud. And it gives people the power back. But now we're at a point where it's like, is it going too far? Did we take something that was giving people a voice in order to hold people who would never be held accountable? But now do we take it to a point where if I don't like you, I'm going to cancel you? And I think that's the big thing that we really.
Well, I think a big thing is, money and power goes together until it doesn't, and that's what happens too. I mean, look at Trump. He has the money, he has the power, and so I don't think he's going to get in trouble for a very long time. Like Harvey Weinstein, he had the money, he had the power. So you can't fight that. You really can't. Money can buy anything you want. I don't care what people say. It can.
Until it doesn't. Until it
doesn't.
doesn't.
Exactly. And
then I'm going to run to the comments really quickly. Johanna says, I don't think education works anymore. Too many people in power are using their power, their position to push hate for their agenda.
Yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, I do want to go to this post really quickly. So Gina Carano, she was an MMA fighter. She was on Disney's hit show, The Mandalorian, and she was poised to get her own show. This is someone who is very popular. She has a cult following, and she was just canceled. Now, Fire Gina was trending last week, I believe on Wednesday or Tuesday, because of statements that she made. So I'm going to put the statements up. I'm going to kind of break it down as well. And then I want to hear what you guys think, because she was canceled. She lost the opportunity to have her own show. She was fired from Disney, and her agency fired her as well. So let me go to this comment right here that she put up. So she wrote, Jews were beaten in the streets, not by Nazi soldiers, but by their neighbors, even children. Because history is edited, most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being Jews. How was this any different from hating someone for their political views? And if you guys don't know, Gina is a conservative, and she was basically saying that conservatives are being treated like Jews back in Nazi Germany. So what are your thoughts about this? Do you think this was the appropriate thing for her to be canceled and essentially be fired from Disney and all of her projects?
Okay, so what she's saying in that was it wasn't Nazis that were doing this, it was their neighbors. And maybe the Nazis were telling the neighbors to go and beat their neighbors up.
So I'm going to say this. The first part of what she wrote is true. That Nazis didn't wake up one day and say, hey guys, we all hate Jews now, and everyone followed. It was right. It was slowly done. It was propaganda. So essentially, neighbors did start chasing their neighbors who were Jews. 5 years before then, they could have been friends. But because of the propaganda running through, slowly but surely, people started turning against the Jews, and they were attacking Jews in the street. They were turning Jews in. Essentially, Jews in Nazi Germany were being treated like outsiders, like outcasts, like pariahs because of the propaganda.
So that statement, what she made, was true then.
So that top part is true. Yeah. So that's what it's doing. But now what she's saying, she's basically now saying that's what's happening to conservatives now.
I understand the point she was attempting to make. The point she was attempting to make is that you have a government that is spewing propaganda that is turning your neighbors against people with certain views and being beat up like verbally, or we hate you, we don't like you, whatever, you're a conservative or you're a Republican, you're a Democrat, get out of my face. I hate you just because of that. I can understand what she was saying. I can understand the point she was attempting to make. Do I think that using the Jewish people was in bad taste? Yes.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Do I think she needs to lose her entire career over that? No. I think this is a perfect opportunity to educate not only her, but the public who by and large has forgotten the Holocaust even existed or what happened, as an educational tool.
So you think that she should have remained employed by Disney, but people should have educated her.
And she should have educated people in return as to why it was a poor taste.
Correct.
Using the Jewish people. Not so much the post. The post isn't the problem. What she said isn't the problem. The problem is she used the Jewish people in the time of the Holocaust. That's the problem. Because she could have came out and said the same exact thing with changing the word Jewish to conservative. and got rid of Nazis to Republican or Democratic, would it made the same impact? Would it be the same problem? Would she have gotten fired? So I think the problem is actually she used the Jewish people to make her point.
I think people do need to be very careful when they use things like the Holocaust, when they use things like slavery as comparisons, when they use things like the civil rights movement. I do think for the most part people should steer clear of those, because those were events in history that we're not going through any of that right now. We're not going through any
poor
of those.
taste, very poor taste.
Very poor taste. If she would have said, again, people could have been mad with her, people could not have agreed with her, but I think she would have been put in a position where she was not canceled. I think that's the issue, is that because she used Jews in the Holocaust, that's why she was canceled. If she would have said, listen, when we have propaganda running around, we can see neighbors turning on neighbors or something along those lines. I think people could have been annoyed with her, but no one would have called for her to have been fired. And I do want to go to the comment section really quickly. So Sean says, Joseph Goebbels developed the propaganda ministry, was organized into 7 departments: administration and legal, mass rallies, public health, youth and race, radio, national foreign press, film and film censorship, art, music and theater, and protection against counter-propaganda, both foreign and domestic. This is before the development of the internet, social media. What we are living in, the use of propaganda in modern times. So what we are living in is the use of propaganda in modern terms. Excuse me, it's very tiny on my screen when there's a lot of writing. And then Joanna says she agrees with Wade. So Stephanie, what do you think?
I think we were competing with mute unmute there. I think that it goes back to what we were talking about before, that sort of group mentality, that as you start to tell people this is how it is, and people start to believe that, then you can understand how people would turn against each other. So I agree. I think she had a point, but Disney has a certain image that they are very clear about, and she definitely crossed that line. So it doesn't surprise me that they let her go and canceled her, but it's unfortunate that she went so extreme to as we were saying. So yeah, I'm just agreeing with everyone.
So it was very interesting because I spoke about this last week. When I spoke about it, someone wrote this in and she was like, of course she got fired. She violated her contract. So at the end of the day, if you work for someone else, you have a contract. Even like myself, if I say something, for my other shows, I have sponsors. If I say something crazy, my sponsors are going to pull their sponsorship from my shows if they don't agree with what I'm saying. Because people have contracts, they have things in place, and they want to make sure that their brands are associated with things that they want their brands associated with. So I definitely agree with what Stephanie says. Disney, even though Disney has a dark past for a lot of things, we'll talk about Disney's past later. There's a couple things I'm going to talk about later on another show. But Disney has an image that it needs to maintain now. And if you, as an employee of Disney, go against that, or you go against what's written in your contract, because contracts have not necessarily morality clauses, but things close to morality clauses. If you go against that, you're going to be fired. And you can call it cancel culture or not, but when you would agree to work for a company, when you agree to work with groups, you have to maintain the image that they want you to maintain. So you can call it cancel culture or not. And does anyone have any last words? Because we are definitely going over time. Joanna says cult mentality. Does anyone have any other last things they want to touch about cancel culture? We did not get to half of the things that we were supposed to speak about tonight.
Right. We always do this. We always go over. It's just too good, though. Our topics are really good, and so another good show.
Perfect. And then Wade, do you have anything else you want to? Because I know I know you feel very passionately about this, Wade. Any other last words about cancel culture in general, not just the Gina thing?
No, just in general, I think people need to understand what they're actually doing and the power that they hold. Just like the government, you have the power over your government authorities. How you choose to use it is how everyone's going to perceive you. So if your power is in rallying people to cancel them because they said something you don't like, that power can be used for good and it can be used for evil. And lately it's been used a lot of evil.
I definitely agree. Cancel culture has its place in America, but weaponizing it can be extremely dangerous. I think we are now tiptoeing on the point of cancel culture being dangerous. I think there are times where people need to be canceled. I definitely think Harvey Weinstein, I'm going to keep saying that because I'm going to keep saying that because I'm going to let you know right now, there's going to be a lot more Harvey Weinsteins to come in the future. I think we're going to be very shocked how much things are coming out in the next couple of years. Look at Marilyn Manson now because that's coming out. I can't believe that took so long to come out. But I digress and we'll move away.
Yeah, if anybody's going to be afraid of anybody, be afraid of Marilyn Manson. I'm just saying.
No, I don't know if he's going to be canceled, but the fact that it took so long, so many years for people to actually see that Marilyn Manson was someone who was very abusive towards women, and people now in 2021 you're believing it, but you didn't believe it in the 90s,
right?
When he was doing so. I do believe that cancel culture has its place. Well, they'll be shocked to hear about a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of people coming out, and who will essentially be canceled for things they did back in the past when I guess they thought they can get away with it. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Power Hour panel talk. We come live every single Tuesday evening, so you can watch us live, you can watch the replay. You guys can join in, you can talk. I want to say thank you to everyone who joined in today. John joined in, Joanna joined in. So guys, thank you so much for joining in and writing your comments. Listen, your opinion matters. We want to hear your opinion. We don't all agree on the show, ever. So if you guys agree or disagree with us, or if you have any information I can pass along, please go ahead and write it into us as well. You can also catch me every single Monday through Thursday live at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, where I talk about current events also in the morning. You can also watch me on TV on Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire, all on the Easy Way channel. And that's a more upbeat, happy talk show type of show. So no current events, but lots of happiness. You can stream all of season 1 now. And then, Wade, what do you have going on?
Oh, we have so much going on. We've got Carrie Beavers. She's launching her own coffee company. I think we talked about this last week. We're getting ready to do that virtual launch on the 13th. So look out for that. It's going to be a whole lot of fun.
Perfect.
Yeah, and then we have Coffee with the Queens on Thursday morning, every Thursday morning. And this Thursday, we have a super guest from expert or professional boxer to the boardroom. So he's going to talk about how he changed positions and how he became a CEO of his own company. So very exciting. Thursday morning, 9:30 a.m. Check it out.
So it's Danny that you're going to have on the show?
It's Danny, yes.
So, this is such a small world. I met Danny in an Uber, I think 4 or 5 years ago when I was on vacation in Miami.
Wow.
And we stayed in contact because we were talking about business. We stayed in contact for all these years.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow. Well, he's phenomenal. So definitely watch it this Thursday morning, guys.
And then Stephanie, what do you have going on?
That's awesome. Well, join me on Friday doing some Pilates. Let's get a little workout in. You can check me out on theleemethod.com and get signed up.
Perfect. So guys, thank you so much. And then Angel is no longer with us, but Angel is the founder of USA Multicultural. So you can go ahead and check out usamulticultural.org if you'd like to donate to the nonprofit or if you'd like to learn more about the nonprofit. And again, guys, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
And please use USA Multicultural on AmazonSmile.com. So when you purchase things on Amazon, go to smile.amazon.com and use USA Multicultural as the beneficiary, and they'll get 0.5% of what you purchase. So
whoop, whoop.
We all appreciate that.
We know you're using that Amazon Prime. Go ahead. And then Joanna says, it's good to see Stephanie is back. So guys, thank you so much. I will see everyone tomorrow morning, bright and early. But also I'll see everyone next week for another Power Hour panel talk. Again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. And we look forward to hearing your opinions as well next week. Bye, everyone. Have a great one.